Welcome to Bravo Vein. We deal with all things horror, from telling true horror stories and the backstories that they do not want you to know.
Fact or fiction, truth or lies. Sounds like the 2020 election slogan.
We gotta watch what we say about that because YouTube will ban our conservative speech.
Sebastian and Elijah here once again. And we're always having these discussions about Bigfoot, paranormal, that, we sit around and we try to come up with which one we're going to talk about for each day, or for each video. Sometimes we actually don't really know until we sit down and just start discussing it. And that's kind of the way we're at today. As a matter of fact, Sebastian told me a few different ones, and then he said, just surprise me with which one you want to go into. And I'm leaning to this one that I'm about ready to bring up because I found it quite intriguing and interesting. And again, this is another one that falls in the category of overheard. Didn't happen to us directly.
Would that be one we were eavesdropping on?
Not on purpose.
Okay, I think I might know where we're going with this. I could be wrong.
And I think, well, I can't go into too much, but Sebastian sometimes being with his dad being in the military, that's all I'll say. I'll let Sebastian say if he wants to say more than that, but we'll at least leave it at that at the moment. He got the chance to hearing stuff that he shouldn't have heard.
There's a lot of that, by the way.
There's a lot of that, and I will not say, and Sebastian won't say either, whether Jeremiah was there or involved in this situation, because, as we was discussing earlier, Jeremiah will not discuss stuff that he was actually involved in during his military days. So we won't say on this one. But anyways, this one has to deal with actually American and, was it Afghanistan? Or I forgot. Were they actually
Oh, I know where you're going. I know where you're going with this. All right. Let me give you the setting. If it's a story I'm thinking of, say yes. If it's not, then I'll shut up. And that will be another.
Yes.
Really?
I didn't know they would stop talking.
Hell, I didn't get the story up. Are you talking about, and there's no record of this, all right? There's no way to corroborate any of this.
Well, there's not going to be.
True, because the military and the government like to cover up shit. So is it the story that dealt with where Jeremiah with his, I guess you call it A-team? I don't know. Though I'm a military brat, I don't know a lot about the military.
He's got the brat part right.
True. Well, if it's the story I'm thinking of, this is a far out story. It's like, if I didn't hear this, you were at the party with me. So I know which story you're talking about. So let me put the setting out before I tell the story.
But you got to remember, he's going to remember more than me because I do have a legitimate hearing loss. So, but it was still like, I would look at Sebastian and be like, am I hearing this correctly? Did he just say what I think he just said? And he'd be like, yeah, you actually heard that right.
We went with Jeremiah to this party, and it was a guy coming home from the military, a special forces guy coming home from the military. They were throwing a party for him. So I think Logan was there, Richie was there, Levi was there, because we all know this guy coming home from the military, who happened to be a Green Beret. A lot of other guys were there that were in special forces. There were some SEALs there. There were some Green Berets there. A few former Force Recon Marine guys / MARSOC, which is their special forces. They were there. If it's a story I'm thinking you're talking about, me and you were on the other side of the hedgerow. They were on the other side, thinking that they were private, and they were all talking about this one particular story, correct?
Yeah, and they were also drinking, which sometimes people start talking about stuff that probably shouldn't be talking about. They just don't realize. I don't really think they were unaware that, we were at a party. There were people around, but yeah, they kind of went off to the side, like you just said. But yeah, we were kind of sitting there. They didn't see us, obviously. And I do remember Sebastian telling me to be quiet. Like, let's listen to this.
Yeah, liquor produces loose lips. So those of y'all that like to drink, if you don't want people to know anything intimate about you, don't drink and don't start talking. Liquor loosens lips, and this is a prime example of it.
That's why I don't drink.
So we're outside. Yeah, true. I'm drinking a little bit. I usually don't drink, but, with stuff going on, I'm drinking.
I mean, Jesus drank wine, folks, so drinking's not altogether wrong.
Correct.
Getting drunk, different story, but...
So we're at this party. Set the setting up for you.
They're talking about this, and like I already mentioned, I'm just like in disbelief of what I'm hearing. And anyway, especially if they don't think they're even being heard, if they were drinking, loose lips, yes.
They had no idea that we were there, too, because we're on the other side of the bushes.
Right. Almost blew it because I was kind of going like, am I hearing this right? And Sebastian's like, shh.
So we're sitting, listening to this story, and it was a typical story dealt with military operations in Afghanistan. So I'm going to set up the story for you. So there was 3 detachments of sniper teams with the Green Berets. They were doing recon. One of them happened to be Jeremiah and his spotter, because Jeremiah has had sniper training. He is a Special Forces sniper also. So him and his spotter was on one ridge overlooking this valley. Off to his left was another Green Beret sniper with his spotter overlooking the same valley, but where it fingers out. Off to his right was another sniper, Green Beret sniper with his spotter overlooking the other valley. So they were there strictly just for recon. They weren't there to take out targets or anything like this. They were just there specifically for recon to see enemy movement and activity. After 2 or 3 days, they saw nothing. One day, out of nowhere, they started hearing small arms fire. For those of y'all who don't know what small arms fire means, it means rifles, pistols, small arms. Well, I'm not in the military, though my dad was a colonel in the military, and I know military lingo to a point. And the small arms fire that Jeremiah and the 2 other detachments were hearing were of American small arms fire, which was 5.56, which is M4s, M16s, AR-15s, all this and that. It's a NATO round. They also heard M249s going off. They also heard M203s, which are, I think, 40 millimeter mics, which is millimeters. They were hearing those going off. So they heard a detachment of American soldiers coming in contact, which is troops in contact, TIC. And then they heard over their short-range radios, Americans discussing back and forth like, they're there, fire, they're there, fire. Oh my God, they're there, fire. Then they overhear, we have Al Queda and suspected Taliban. They're not firing at us. What the hell's going on? We're being attacked. But what he was hearing on the radio was throwing them off. They weren't hearing enemy fire. They just heard Americans coming in contact with something not natural. Because all they heard was American weaponry, I'm sorry, I'm getting buzzed right now, weaponry being fired. They didn't hear enemy fire yet. They heard hysterical things on what they called their short-range radio. And when we heard the story, and you heard it from the guys, it's like they were thinking they were on their long-range radio, had, given details back to the command center, like, hey, we've come in contact, we need help, we need assistance, we've come under fire, unidentified enemy that doesn't make sense. And it was going short range. So we were hearing the story, it was like they were doing long range radio, but it was coming through short range radio where Jeremiah and the other snipers were hearing. And what we overheard in the story wasn't making sense. That Jeremiah and Jeremiah, for those of y'all, he will not discuss anything that he's been involved with. In the military, they sign a lot of NDAs, which are non-disclosure agreements. that this is classified, this never happened, you are not to talk about it. So when we heard the story and we asked Jeremiah about it, Jeremiah does his typical look at you like headlights, doesn't acknowledge it nor deny it, he just walks off and shakes his head. Me being one of his best friends, if not his best friend, I take that as it's true, he will not discuss it. Do you not take it that way?
That's how I take it.
When you were hearing this stuff, what was going through your mind?
Like I said, I was in disbelief of what I was hearing, and then it was just like, is this real? And again, I'm asking Sebastian. He keeps telling me to be quiet, just listen, because obviously they didn't know we were there. And then, if I remember right, I think I'm continuing right where you're at. They wanted to go help them, but they were told, no, stay in your spot or hold your position or something like that.
They were told to stand down, that they were under a vital mission operative or mission objective. They were there just to observe enemy movement and activity, which they saw none of. They were there for 3 days, saw nothing. And when Jeremiah, and the only things we hear about Jeremiah is not from Jeremiah, it's from his close personal military friends, his former Green Berets, that are, we'll give their aliases of Stan and Anthony. You might get some stories of Trevor / and Tanner, but most of them are from individuals we call Stan and Anthony. When you ask Jeremiah about it, he just looks at you like, fuck off, and he walks off. So he doesn't confer or deny it. He just walks off. But they were involved in this conversation, and we were eavesdropping, so they had no idea that we were there. So they were in confidence hiding amongst themselves with other guys talking about this story. And these other guys were like, we heard this story, is it true? Stan and Anthony are confirming that it was true. Because I think one of them were the other sniper guys.
I think so.
They're hearing all this on short range radio. They were conversing back and forth of like, the hell's going on? We have troops in contact. For these 3 teams, Jeremiah was the senior, he wasn't an officer. Jeremiah's not an officer, but he was the team leader. So he was a high-ranking sergeant. And he broke communications radio back to command or SOCOM, Special Operations Command of like, hey, listen, are there American units in the area? He was told no. He replied back, because we're going by the story that we were overhearing. Right. Replied back of like, I disagree with you because we have troops in contact, and we're hearing their short range radio, and they're trying their long range radio, and we're hearing them on short range radio, and we can hear the gunfire. We have American units in the vicinity that have come under contact, and you're telling us that there are no units within the area. Well, I disagree that we have troops in contact. What are your orders? And they were given orders to stand down, to hold mission statement, that you're there for recon. 45 minutes later, Jeremiah on the radio, and all that we're hearing is overhand knowledge of the conversation that Jeremiah receives from SOCOM, like, correction, there are a special unit force in the area, and that they have come in contact with the enemy, and they are requesting assistance. But yet, on the radio, they weren't getting hold of SOCOM, as in this unit. So apparently, they must have either notified another detachment, if it's SEALs, or if it's Force Marine Recon / MARSOC, or if it's another Green Beret unit. They were informed that yes, there is another special operations team there. They have come into contact. It's cloudy of the situation. Please go and assist. So Jeremiah got on the radio, informed the other 2 special forces detachment, made us down on the trail. I don't know military lingo, but there's 6 of them. They all hooked up, and they are all following the trail. and they were down in the valley going up this one particular trail going up into the mountains. What people don't know, the viewers don't know, is in this area that they're in, nobody goes to. The Taliban doesn't perform operations in there. Al Qaeda doesn't perform operations in there. Somehow in this area, it's no man's land. Nobody lives there. No humans go in this area, whatnot. So this is an area in the mountainous region of Afghanistan that the enemy will not conduct activities or operations in. Somehow a special forces unit went into this area. They weren't supposed to. They either got A, lost, or B, they went way outflanking the enemy. But the Taliban and Al Qaeda saw this military unit go in what they deem as no man's land, and they wanted to investigate more why, a special forces unit, American unit, was going in what they deem as no man's land.
So that's why they were in the area as well, even though they knew better. But they were like, hey, why are they going over there? What are they up to? So we need to go check that out.
Yeah, they were following this special forces unit. Now I don't know if the special forces unit knew about it or not. I don't think we ever heard the story. I don't know, but Al Qaeda and the Taliban were following the special forces team in an area that they don't go.
So that's how they made contact with each other. But as we'll get into the story, you'll hear what happened.
So in this area, Al Qaeda, Taliban, and even Afghan localists in the area don't go into. It's their land. What is their land? We don't know yet, but we'll soon later find out in the story. But the enemy followed the good guys to see what the hell they were doing, what they were up to, and why they are going into this area that no human goes to. So we're back now to the story. Jeremiah with 5 other Green Berets start going up this trail, up this mountain. And I want to say in their area, their region, it's the fall. Lower down, it's around 60 degrees, but the higher you up you go, you're getting into snow and colder weather. So they're going up. And I don't know how long. Do you remember how long they were going up before they came in contact?
I'm remembering right. The whole entire time they can hear gunfire and everything, so as we're getting closer, it's like, what in the world is going on?
And now they hear enemy gunfire also.
Right, that's what I was kind of getting at. It was both. Yeah, I didn't say that, but yeah, you're hearing both, and it was just like, what is going on? And again, are we at the point where he arrives?
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So as they're going up, they're in guard. I don't know, again, how military does operations. But you have 6 Green Berets going up this trail in, I guess, a defensive posture. They're getting closer to the gunfire. They hear American gunfire along with enemy gunfire. And I guess when you're in gunfire like this, I don't know how, I could be wrong. If any of our viewers are in the military or special forces, they might be able to answer this. But you can tell during gunfire, or at least we've been told by the military, or what we overheard in this conversation, that they knew that the gunfires were not fighting against each other, but they were fighting in tandem with each other. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it seems like it. And when you're saying that, the first thing that pops in my head is Heartbreak Ridge and the scene where he's demonstrating what the gunfire sounds like. So these military guys can tell the difference in what gun's being operated on. I mean, a good one. I mean, I guess you got your dumb ones too, but anyway, but a good one like Jeremiah, he could probably tell you just at what he's hearing who's firing what.
Correct.
So, yeah, as they're approaching, they're hearing this. Obviously, they're confused, but that's why they're going there to find out what the heck is going on.
So, Jeremiah and them are walking up this trail in the foothills or the mountain region of Afghanistan that even the enemy will not go to. He hears, weapons going off both from the enemy and Americans, that it doesn't sound like they're fighting each other, but they're fighting something else. So they're going up the trail, and as they get higher up and closer, the gunshots get louder. Lo and behold, when they come up and around a bend, they come in contact with an enemy soldier. They're raising their weapons to get ready to shoot this either Taliban or Al Qaeda soldier. He drops his weapons, gets down to his knees, holds up his hand, and starts speaking in his language. Well, one of the Green Berets there, who's fluent in their language, and I don't know if Pashtun, I don't know what language it is, but he recognized what he was saying, and he was yelling, "Don't fire! Don't fire! Don't fire!" And Jeremiah looks like, "What's going on?" He's like, he's not making sense because the guy's hysterical and he's screaming, and the Green Beret's translating, and he's looking at Jeremiah, who is the leader of the group, saying like he's not making sense. He's here as a friend, not as an enemy, and that he's gonna take his right hand and throw out the rest of his magazines because he already dropped his AK-47. He's taking his grenades, laying down on the ground. He's saying, "I'm a friend, not an enemy. We need help, both Americans and Afghanis, I guess you call them." And they're all thinking this is a trap and an ambush, but they can hear both American weapons being fired and enemy weapons being fired. So, two of the Green Berets went up, detained this guy. They put zip ties on him. He's still saying the same thing. He goes, "I come in peace. We need your help. Your friends are even in trouble. We're in trouble. We need help." Jeremiah's looking at the translator. Is like, "Are you serious? We're not falling for this." The translator's like, "Listen, I think this guy might be telling the truth, but let's take him anyways and have him in the front. And if everything goes wrong, we'll drop this guy and then we'll return fire." So they're all going up. Now they're like, their fingers are on the triggers, safety's off, everything, which they probably already are. I don't know. I'm not a military guy. But they're going up higher and higher. Now they're in the snow portion of this area. It's getting colder. It's like over the next bend is where they're hearing the fire. As they're coming up, what they see, they can't believe. They see both Afghanis, which are Taliban and Al Qaeda, along with Green Berets, other special forces guys, working together, firing uphill on this ridge next to them. They hear guys screaming, hollering out in Afghan language and American languages. They also hear on short-range radios on their headsets American soldiers saying, "I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's fucking huge. This thing's fucking huge. You just picked up a boulder and crushed 3 Al Qaeda guys. We need backup. Call it in. We need airstrikes, artillery. We need backup." Everything's hysterical. Everything's a mess. Jeremiah, what they're hearing on the radio is not making sense. What we're hearing in the story, you're freaking out asking me, "Am I hearing this correctly?" And I'm telling you to be quiet. I can't believe what I'm hearing. You want to add anything to this?
It always amazes me what these things are capable of doing and how much it takes. There's been some, actually, you got people out there, trying to find Bigfoot, or some are trying to kill a Bigfoot. It's already been done. Just nobody knows about it. At least we don't know about it officially, but you're getting right here in this story what happened. And it's amazing because when Jeremiah gets there and he's talking to one of them, they're like, "Well, what's going on? Why are y'all fighting together against whatever it is up that hill?" And it's like, "Well, we made a temporary truce."
Yeah, it's like, my dad was a colonel in the Army, and my dad, and heard the stories of the cover-up that our military and government does, that we the people, they don't want us to know. It's like, we're going to be your mom and dad, we know what's best for you, when it's us, we the people, that dictate what we should or should not know. And we've done search for this. We can't find anything of this story actually happened. Why would we be at a party that would welcome home another special forces guy? We're there with a lot of special forces guys, a lot of military guys. We're one of few, 5 civilians other than the wives there. We're there. Why would these what was it, 7, 8, 9? How many guys were hidden talking about this?
That's roughly it, best that I can remember. Can't remember the exact number, but
Why would they be hiding secretly from everybody in the party, talking about something that they don't want anybody else to hear? Why would they be lying?
right.
And what we're overhearing are like, holy shit, am I hearing what I'm hearing? And that wasn't the only story that they told that night. No. We were there for like 2-3 hours in the same spot hearing stories that we should not be hearing.
Right.
So Jeremiah gets there. He sees Al Qaeda, Taliban, and American Special Forces working together, firing at something or somethings up above. And the way we heard the story is trees are being thrown down, rocks are bouncing down or being flung down. Like, there's no artillery, there's no explosion. What the hell is making this stuff fall down, hitting both American and Taliban and Al Qaeda? And to see Al Qaeda guys help carrying wounded American soldiers down and vice versa. They had a medic there who was treating injuries to Al Qaeda and Taliban guys. What? I mean, it's like Jeremiah, you hear in the story. Of course, we don't hear any of this from Jeremiah. You ask him about it, he looks at you like, go fuck off. And he walks off. He won't even mention it. He won't even say nothing about it.
No.
So, they can't believe what they're seeing. He goes up to one of the commanders of this. I don't know if it's an officer. I don't know if it was a sergeant. I really don't know. But he's like, what's going on, dude? He's like, we're under attack. He's like, why are you working with Al Qaeda and the Taliban? This is treason. This is a court-martialable offense. We're going to Fort Leavenworth over this shit. And this is where I guess the CIA guy came in. You remember that?
Actually, I forgot until you just said that. Right.
So a guy who was an American, who was not in military fatigues, but was more in Afghan civilian attire, comes up, introduces himself, and says that he's actually in charge of this unit, that they were doing operations in here, which we still don't know to this day, but he is in charge of these Green Berets, and they're following his orders, which he has orders from the State Department. And Jeremiah, from the story we hear, is like, why are we working with the Taliban and Al Qaeda? This is a treasonous offense. This is a court-martial offense. Dude, we can go to prison over this. Hell, they can execute us for this. And the CIA guy was telling him, like, listen, we came in contact with something up there. It's not human. They attacked us. And Al Qaeda and Taliban was following us. And that they were getting attacked by the same thing that was attacking us, and that they sent a person out to make a truce. And what we heard this story was mind-blowing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I saw your facial expression. You looked at me and goes, I'm deaf. Am I hearing what I think I'm hearing? I was like, you tell me what you're hearing. When you told me, I was like, yeah, that's what you're hearing. So this Taliban guy, or Al Qaeda, I don't know, got completely naked, took the turban off his head, which happened to be white, I guess, thank God, was waving it, coming to the Americans with his hand up, and he was speaking English. Was I right? They said he was speaking English, yeah. Correct? That he was waving his turban, saying, don't shoot, I come in peace, I'm here to make a truce. And that the CIA guy was telling the story, and we're overhearing it, and we were looking at each other like, I can't believe this, what we're hearing. That this Taliban guy was coming to him completely naked, junk flapping in the front, bare ass in the back, spinning around, making sure, letting the American soldiers know. And they're getting attacked too, as this is happening. They're all firing up above the ridgeline above. The Taliban and Al Qaeda are firing a ridgeline above, and these Americans on this one trail had bad guys up the trail from them and bad guys below them. They were being boxed in, but they are all being attacked from the ridgeline up above, which we'll say is northeast from them, or northwest from them. All right, and that this Taliban, we'll just say an Afghan, we'll just call him Afghan, was flapping his turban saying, man, in English, We'd like to make a truce. I don't have weapons on me. We'll give you intel. We need to join forces. These American soldiers, and I think there was 12 of them. So I think it was Green Berets and 18 detachment. Took this guy, patted him down, talked to him in English, like, what the hell's going on while you're attacking us? And we're not attacking you all. And the CIA guy was there talking to him in English, and what he heard really frightened and alarmed the Green Beret guys, where they looked at each other like, we can't radio this back in. They think we have been smoking opium or something. And the story that this guy was telling me was like, there's a reason why nobody goes in this area. It's theirs. And I guess over the past 100, if not thousands of years, there are big hairy creatures that roam in this particular mountain valley, ridgeline, mountain region that even Afghans won't go to. And if you don't know your geography, Afghanistan is near the Himalayas, where the Yeti is. So apparently they have a Bigfoot / Yeti creature that takes this particular area that the Afghans won't even go to, Al Queda won't even go to, and Taliban won't even do operations to. And the reason they were there is they saw these American Green Berets, special forces going there, and they wanted to know why they were going to the big hairy people's area that they don't go to. And I think, if I'm right, was it a fuck up why the Green Berets were there?
That was my understanding as well. They went in an area they weren't supposed to. I think they were trying to, oh, good grief, can't remember the wording now. We were talking about it a while ago, but they were trying to
outflank them.
Yeah, that's right. They were trying to outflank them, and they just ended up in an area that they weren't supposed to be in. And lo and behold, they got attacked by these, we've already mentioned it, so they got attacked by these Yetis. Well, the Afghan people were there as well. These Yetis don't pick a side. They were attacking both of them.
Well, I guess all three of them, because there was Taliban and Al Qaeda there, so they were attacking three forces. So what the CIA guy was hearing and what Jeremiah and the other guys were hearing, they were like, what the hell? And they're like, and the CIA guy's like, why are you all here? It's like, we heard you on short range radios. We were doing the mission, and we heard you all. We called back to SOCOM. SOCOM's like, nobody's in the area. Then 45 minutes later, they got back and said, no, there is contact. Break mission statement, go and help them. Here we are. And how in the hell am I supposed to report back to SOCOM that you all are teaming up? And the one guy there, I guess the radio guy, looked at the CIA, and the CIA guy is like, I told you our fucking long-range radio was destroyed. Thank God that Jeremiah and them were in the area, or nobody would have picked them up. And these guys, both Americans and Afghans, would have been slaughtered, because they were getting their ass kicked. And they didn't even hear over the radio, because I guess then there was another Green Beret guys up above. Said, oh my God, we got backup. And you hear one guy on the radio, no, it's only 6 of them. Keep fighting. They're fucking trying to outflank us. Referring to the Yetis or Bigfoots, whatever you want to call them. So, as all this is going on, you have firing going on. You have communications, short-range radios come over the headset of, guys being attacked, guys seeing that Jeremiah and them is there, help's on the way, all this and that. And they're hearing this story. And he's looking down, and there's a Green Beret medic both helping Americans and Al Qaeda and Taliban. They're all working together. And you remember when we heard the guys talking about this, is like, at one time during the war, 2 sides or 3 sides that are fighting each other actually worked together. If it was like this, there would be no war in life. You remember them saying that?
Oh, yeah.
But it took these Bigfoot Yeti creatures for Al Qaeda, Taliban, and American forces working together as if there was never a problem. But unfortunately, it took these people to fly planes into our buildings, killed 3,000 of our fellow countrymen that we had to go over there and kick the shit out of them. But we're all working together to take on something that the military, government, science doesn't say exists, but we know exists. So Jeremiah got on the radio, called back to SOCOM. gave the report. We have only heard this from Stan and Anthony and the other guys. He talked about it. And who do you think was there? Was it Stan or Anthony? Which one do you think?
I'm wanting to say Stan. I really don't remember, but
That's who I'm wanting to say. I'm wanting to say Stan too. So we discussed this part, but I thought it was Stan too.
yeah. One of the things that intrigued me, well, I don't want to say intrigued, but I thought was so interesting was that I keep saying Afghan people, so it could be Afghan, Taliban, Al Queda. But anyways, they were like, we want to make a truce. We just want to survive today. We don't want to die this way at the hands of well, they didn't call them Yetis. I don't know what they called them, but they were like, what the big hairy people, whatnot. But we'd call them Bigfoots or Yetis. But it was like, I don't know. You almost wonder, like, is that like a shameful thing to die to them as opposed to dying
to your enemy?
Yeah,
right.
Soldiers, yeah, to your actual enemies. But in this situation, they were kind of almost begging. That's how I took it, like begging, like, please help us. We'll do whatever you need for today. What, give intel maybe even, but like, we just want to survive. Get the heck out of here. This is their place. Anyways, you know, nobody comes here. Nobody lives here. Just help us.
You're right. It was like the Taliban and Al Qaeda was like, nobody comes here. The only reason we're here is seeing what you all are doing here. Maybe you all know something we don't know, and then we're all getting attacked. We'd rather die by you all than by them. And what we heard later from the story is that the American Special Forces got a lot of intel from the Al Qaeda and Taliban guys in order to survive. That they literally gave them information, and the Taliban and Al Qaeda guys said, we won't let our friends know that you're coming. We just want to survive. You all can go and kill them or arrest them and get intel, but we'll give you high value targets, and we won't give them acknowledge that you're coming ahead of time because we just want to survive this. We even heard in the story that these guys were crying. Like, listen, we'll work with you all. Just, we don't want to die here today because of them. It's almost like, I don't know if you heard this part, it's almost like Allah would shame them from dying by these things rather than the jihad against the Americans. Did you take it that way?
Oh, yeah. And then tell the viewers, didn't somebody radio something? Either somebody come down or somebody radioed, was like, we managed to get one of them, but can't get over how much it took.
Yeah, that was when so all right, we're jumping ahead, all right? So Jeremiah's guy underneath him gets on the radio back to SOCOM and said, listen, this is the situation, we need backup. And I'm just reporting what I'm seeing. We have a CIA guy here who says he's in charge of this team. SOCOM kind of acknowledged that this guy does exist, that yes, this team is there for this, but didn't relieve or relay any other information. Right. And the guy underneath Jeremiah was like, listen, we have Al Qaeda here, we have Taliban here, and American soldiers. We're all working together. We're taking on something here. And SOCOM's like, do what? He goes, yeah, we're fighting something else here. They're talking on the radio. Is it Russians? Is it the Chinese? It's like, no, I can't tell you what it is because I'm sure when we get back and debrief, you're going to want to piss test us. I remember them saying that. Like, what's going on? Is like, and one of them had, I think, it wasn't Jeremiah's team, it was the other team. They actually had, some of them had, I don't know if you call it body cam or YouTube, but one of them had a video where they were video and documenting this so SOCOM, the CIA, could see. Did you get that? Did you hear that? Do you remember that?
It does seem like there was one of them, and yeah, they, of course, that video disappeared. At least that's what my understanding was. But the video probably still exists. They're just never going to ever see it.
And the guy survived. It was either on his I don't know what the military wears, but their flak jacket. I guess, they're bulletproof, they're armored vests or whatnot, or on his helmet. He was documented. So he had audio and video. And it showed the firefight and everything. And apparently it caught these things on video. But he's radioing back like, we're fighting Bigfoot-like creatures. These things are big and hairy. And it's like, there's more than one. It's like, yeah, there's more than one. We got reinforcements coming. But, they wanted them also to take out the enemy, as in Al Qaeda and Taliban. And we know from hearing the conversation, it was like, no, we're not doing that because we're all going to die then if that happens. And there was on the radio direct order, and they disobeyed that direct order. So there is record of that, but we can't find record of that. When I say record of that, it means it was on video, audio. I think they record their transmissions. I don't know. I'm not a military guy. But what we've heard from the conversation, everything was recorded. Did you take it that way?
That's how I took it that way. And also, they really don't know how many Yeti. They knew there was more than one Yeti, but it was like, how many? They really weren't sure. But I don't want to jump ahead again, but I'm just going to relate what I already mentioned. They did get one.
Well, they got more than one.
Well, I only remember them saying they got one. I mean, I'm sure they shot more than one, but there's one confirmed.
They did say that they dropped a few and the others were carrying them back into the cave or higher up the mountain. Right. That it would take humans, even the Afghans who, are used to this terrain, a while to get up. These things were walking up it like it was fucking stairs.
Right.
So there was more killed, but there was one that they left. Okay, we'll get to that later. All right. I don't want to jump ahead. So this happened, a day and a half or 2 days?
Oh, I don't remember how many days. I thought it was 1 day, actually, myself, but I really don't remember.
I think they got their day and went over the next night into the morning.
Probably something like that.
So Jeremiah and them got on the radio that reinforcements were coming. They were sending another special ops team. And they knew that there was a captain coming in on this special ops team. I think in this team there's only a lieutenant and maybe a second lieutenant, and the rest were sergeants and whatever else, and the CIA guy. But Jeremiah and them were informed that the CIA guy is now head of the area. So Jeremiah is not the head of his team. Neither are the lieutenants, that they all answer to the CIA guy. And we heard from the story, the CIA guy is like, we are teaming up with Al Qaeda and Taliban because we all have a common enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my enemy.
Right.
So they were fighting that night with these things. And it was only in the middle of the night that they got reinforced. And I think it was another 18 detachment. Because even on the radio from the Green Berets, because there was Green Berets spread out up above with Taliban and Al Qaeda fighting these things. And where Jeremiah and them were at was, I guess, the safe zone where they would bring back their wounded, make their command station. And they were calling, we need a 75th Ranger Mountains, what is it? I might screw this up. But they were calling on radio that they need the 75th Mountain Ranger Regiment. Did you remember them saying that?
Something like that, but something that's going through my mind right now. If your listeners, we might not have said, I think we said it, but we might not have. You might be wondering, why didn't they just pull out from the area? Well, some of the American forces were kind of trapped. Yes. So they were trying to get to them or get them to where they could get out. So it was kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, Sebastian's already said, when Jeremiah arrives, you got the one down at the bottom of the hill, or is it a hill or a mountain?
It was a huge mountain, but it was like tiers ridge.
So there's some of our guys who were trapped up there. So that was the whole thing. I guess maybe even been some Al Qaeda maybe.
They were up top. You had Green Berets with Al Qaeda and Taliban working together. They had a lot of wounded. They couldn't get down because there were being rocks, boulders, trees thrown at them.
Right. I don't know if we had mentioned that, because I was just in there thinking, I was like, you might be wondering, why didn't they just pull out? No, they were now, not just fighting them, but also, really you call a rescue mission. It's like, I guess they had the same the enemy had the same thing in mind. We don't leave our guys behind, I guess, but they were actually going to try to help. The joint forces, we already clarified that. They joined forces, but yeah, there was a mutual interest. We wanting to get out alive. We'll help you get your guys. You help us get our guys out. So that was the whole purpose, that while they're continuing fighting, we had people up there trapped that they're trying to get out.
So we're at nighttime now. You can still hear yelling and screaming up top. I mean, the battle's going on. It never stopped. Okay? So while we're telling down at the safe area, which the safe area still had boulders coming down, like something up top or some things up top were pushing boulders, coming down, bouncing like balls, taking out trees, taking out other rocks and boulders, or taking out other humans, if it's Green Berets or whatnot. There was casualties in this.
Right. And I'm remembering one of the stories, almost sounds like something from Lord of the Rings, Big Giant, because wasn't it like a pretty good sized boulder, like it was thrown?
They mentioned size of cars.
Right.
The reinforcements showed up. And the way we heard the story was when the reinforcements showed up, yeah, there was Green Berets there, but there was like 8 guys that weren't like the others. That I think there was either 12 guys plus 8 guys, or there was 12 guys, and out of the 12, 8 of them, I think it was 12 guys, because 8 teams are 12 men. So I think they had an 8-team Green Beret detachment there as reinforcements, plus 8 other guys. And I think those 8 other guys, the way I heard from the story, are from the unit. And from those of y'all who don't know what the unit is, Army Special Forces Green Berets have a badass unit, which is the Tier 1 group, better than SEAL Team 6, which is Delta. We know them as Delta, but they're known as the unit. They are the Tier 1 asset group. They had 8 guys that were to take charge of the situation. They directly contacted the CIA guy. This is what our orders are. This is what we're supposed to do. And that they were like working with the Taliban and Al Queda, said, listen, in order for us to work together, this is what we want to know. You remember that?
Yeah, and seems like I remember they acted like some of these guys weren't surprised. It's like...
So you got that too?
You all dealt with these before. It was like, I mean, they didn't have time to discuss it.
Yeah.
It was like, how do you all know what to do?
Yeah, because the comment, because remember we're at the party and stuff, and we got sidetracked listening to the story, but the one guy goes, shit, they're here now? We're there in the States. Yeah. They're in the Appalachian Trail. And it's just like, that's when I lean forward. I'm like, did you hear that? And you're looking at me like, what? I didn't hear it. I heard these guys tell about the story. But the way these guys talked about it was like, oh shit, they're here now? They're only in, like, we've done things in the United States to kill these fucking things. They're in Afghanistan? And that's when the one guy's like, well, we're near the Himalayas, dumb shit. Where you think Yeti's from? You remember that?
Yeah. I forgot about that, yeah.
So these guys were, way I took it, they were Delta. These 8 guys were Delta. Then you have 12 Green Berets also. So they got reinforced with 20 guys. So they sent these guys up. The Delta guys were like, we're now taking control. We're following the CIA guys' steps. So we got to go up and get our guys. And we got to get their guys off. Get the hell off this mountain. You give us the intel. This is what we want to know. And now when we heard this, was Osama already killed or was he still alive?
Oh, good grief. I really don't know. I don't remember that part.
I don't remember. I just remember how the guys were telling stories like, we need to get intel to get high-value targets, if not the high-value target.
I'm actually trying to think right now. I'm wanting to say they'd already got Osama.
All right, you said, I thought he was still alive, but you think he was already killed. I don't know.
It was around that time period. It was so close to that. I guess that's why.
Right. We heard this story in, 2014, 2015? But this happened years before this. So this wasn't recent. This was either during or before Osama bin Laden's death.
So it was in that time frame.
Right. But the next morning, they calculated a plan. The Delta guys went up with some of the Green Berets. Jeremiah's team was getting the guys off the hill. So you had Al Qaeda, Taliban, and U.S. soldiers helping one another and the wounded and the dead off the hill. And when we say dead, guys with logs on top of them, as in trees, as in boulders, guys that have been ripped and torn to shreds, as in they're putting legs and arms and torsos in a body bag that don't necessarily go together.
No.
They just see fatigues. And there are black Green Berets up there with white Green Berets. I know there was an Asian Green Beret. They're putting limbs and torsos in a body bag of a black left leg, a black right leg with a left right white arm and left right or a right white arm with a Asian torso in it. So this body they got in there is a mixture of like 3 different races. They're just putting them in there and getting them off as they're still firefighting. And they know they're dropping some of these things because they can see these things grabbing their own, carrying them off. Which take what? You remember this part, 6 and 8 humans to carry one of them off, where it's taking 1, maybe 2 of these things, dragging these things off. But the first one they killed was lower down, and they're walking past this thing, was only described as, was it over 10 foot or just shortly 10 foot?
It was in the 10-foot range, I remember that.
And it was hairy, and was it more human-like or more animal-like? I want to say it was more human-like.
It was big and hairy. You know, you want to say not human-like, but yeah, it does seem like they mentioned it was like they were surprised how human the face looked, but it was obviously not human.
Well, one of the guys was a hunter, and he said it's bigger than a fucking moose. And mooses are big.
Huge.
So the next morning, they're with, what we consider the enemy, Al Qaeda and Taliban. They're all working together, pulling American soldiers off. You see Al Qaeda and Taliban respectfully, and you got that. Did you hear this also? How these guys were telling that even we know how bad Taliban and Al Qaeda are to prisoners and the dead, like with Lone Survivor, how they treated our dead. That they respectfully was helping our dead and wounded down. It's amazing what humanity can do when it wants to work together.
Yeah, when you're going up against something unnatural, yeah, the humanity surprisingly came in.
Right. And, we heard the story that even these, I don't know if you call them Muslims, Islamic, I don't know what, but they were respectfully saying prayers for our dead along with their dead. They were actually saying prayers for our wounded along with their wounded. They had more wounded and dead than we did. But if you look at like what we've been told by Jeremiah in combat and other guys, that when you're definitely in special forces and they say your son died in a military operation or in combat, they won't tell you specifically how he died or whatnot. Or if they're doing stuff in special forces that you think they're on American soil, but they went overseas and did special operations, they died in a training exercise. When you hear training exercise, it's an operation, it's combat. So a lot of these guys, we didn't have a lot that died, but we had more than what we should have that died. You're going to hear of an either training exercise or a helo crash or a military operation, but not or a battle, but not a special forces operation. But some of these guys are listed died in combat, but won't tell you specifically how they died. But I think, was it 4 or 6 guys that died in this battle?
Oh, I think it was at least 6. And yeah,
I'm talking about Americans. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Al Qaeda.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It was at least 6 Americans that I remember, but yeah, it was even more
that were wounded
on the Afghanistan side that was killed, and
it was in the double digits with Al Qaeda and Taliban with their casualties. They're dead. Yeah. It was either 4 or 6 American soldiers that died, with like 8 or 9 wounded.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing that they got down. What they did get down, they did. I mean, it did work. They rescued the people that were still alive up there.
And the enemy, they, say what you want, The enemy held their end of the bargain. They literally gave intel and information to the American soldiers and the CIA of like, go hit this town in this place at this time. You'll find this person there and that person. And what we heard from the story, it was 100% accurate. And that these guys did not give them warnings ahead of time. They were just happy to survive. Long story short, because we're going to end it, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't want to get into about it, because the viewers probably won't believe this story, but what we'll say about it won't believe even more. That there was one of the remains of the creatures left there, but because the creatures couldn't get, because of the Taliban, Al Qaeda, and American forces there, and they just wanted to get the Taliban, Al Qaeda, and Green Berets off the mountain. And they gave them the information they wanted. They literally shook hands and said, hey, it's amazing we worked together, but unfortunately, come tomorrow, we're going to have to kill you all, or you all try to kill us.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but it seems like, we just won't have it in the video if we shouldn't say this, but didn't some of them kind of make alliance with Americans, and we actually helped them maybe even get out from there?
Right. We had defectors.
Yeah.
So some of the Al Qaeda and Taliban, I'm glad you said it, because I didn't think about it. And now I'm thinking about it. I was like, well, we shouldn't say it, but you brought it up, so we'll go ahead and say it. and what we heard from the story from Stan and Anthony and them talking about it, that there was defectors from Al Qaeda and the Taliban, and that they worked with the United States government and gave up even more high-value targets, and that live in the United States today, and their allegiance to the United States is unwavering, that they agree that, hey, we are sorry that we fought and killed you all. We're sorry about 9/11. We knew of the operations, and that we were lied to. You all are not that evil. You all helped us when you all could have killed us.
And it was kind of one of those things, if I understood right, like if they had stayed over there, then all these places got hit, it would have been like, hey, what did y'all do? Their lives were in danger.
And their families. And their families' lives would have been in danger.
Right, and their families. So, and as you already know, none of the names we're given is real. Of course, we have no idea what the names are, whether these ones that did defect or.
And like the military's going to tell you that this happened anyway.
Right.
They can just sit there and look at us like, oh, these guys are lying, which we can't prove that we're not lying. We just are reporting what we overheard. But the government and the military can look and say, hey, Dravo Vane's lying. Like, we're going to go up against the government. But this is where the fact or fiction, truth or lies come up. This is a what-if scenario. When we heard this, they were talking confidentially, secretly, and did not know we were listening. These creatures either went back into the caves or higher up the mountain where we, as in humans, couldn't pursue them. And that the forces north of the trail went back up north and went northeast to escape, as in, I think they were Al Qaeda, Taliban, and the ones pursuing them went off to go away, back, away from these things, and that the Green Berets, along with the defectors, went back downhill. Helos or helicopters came in, or they went reach an extraction zone. The dead, the wounded, and the live Green Berets, along with Delta, the CIA guy, and the defectors, all boarded helicopters, got out, and they realized when they were told in, before they do operations, they go over meetings. Briefings, yeah. Of they don't go in this area. Those guys were thinking Al Qaeda and Taliban. No, they don't go in the area because they control it, as in these Bigfoot like Yeti creatures. And to this day, Afghanis don't go there. Pakistanis don't go there. It's like if you look at Vietnam, you had the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Cambodia and Laos that Americans couldn't go to because, it's off limits to us. Think of that in Afghanistan, but Taliban don't go there. Afghans don't go there. Al Qaeda don't go there. Only ones that went there were the Americans by a fuck up. And the Taliban and Al Qaeda is like, why are the Americans going there? Nobody goes there, and this is why. Let's see what the Americans. The only reason Al Qaeda and Taliban were there to see why we were there, and we fucked up. We weren't supposed to be there. And the powers that be, our commanding officers, or I want to say our commanding officers. I'm referring to an American. All right, I'm not in the military. Let me get that straight. I'm not in the military. But our commanding officers that serve us in the military knew that these things were there, but allowed operations near there where an American unit fucked up and went in there and guys died because of it. Of course, there's no way for us to corroborate this. I can't speak right. Corroborate this to confirm this story. Like the State Department and the military. Oh yeah, this happened. I mean, you can take this as bullshit. We're just telling you what we overheard. Some guys in the military that listen to this might say, hey, I heard this story. This might be true. I think it's true. What do you?
Well, like we mentioned before, why would you sneak off and huddle up and lie? You know, tell a non-true story. So obviously they were telling something that had happened, but didn't want anybody else to hear it. But had no idea that we were sitting just on the side of the shrubbery or whatnot. And
like I say, liquor loosens lips. If you don't want people to know stuff, don't drink.
But like what we've said all along with our videos, we can't confirm or deny these stories. And also most of like these stories, like the one we just heard, we overheard it. It's not coming from anybody directly. Jeremiah will not confirm it.
That's why we say fact or fiction, truth or lies, you decide. You can decide if it's legit or bullshit. I think it's legit. Please like and share and subscribe this video. I said this in numerous videos. Welcome to another episode of Dravo Van. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, fact or fiction, truth or lies, you decide.